What will end up being Luke Skywalker's fate in Star Wars Episode VIII, and has the passing of Carrie Fisher changed that? On this video, Stupendous Wave returns to talk to me about it. Let's start the Star Wars discussion. Luke Skywalker, the last Jedi. What will be his untimely fate at the end of the Star Wars sequel trilogy? Ever since we heard about the announcement of the sequel trilogy, we wondered what was going to happen with our beloved characters from the original trilogy. We saw Chewbacca come back, and we saw Princess Leia come back, and Luke, and all our favorites. And unfortunately, Han Solo was killed by his own son in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Spoiler if you haven't seen that movie that's been out for over a year. Now, let's talk about the future, though. A lot of people were speculating that Luke Skywalker may end up meeting the same fate as Han Solo at some point in the next two films. However, with the untimely and tragic passing of Carrie Fisher, I often wonder, or have wondered, if it's going to affect the next two movies and how it'll affect it. So welcome once again to Star Wars Discussions, and joining me, the man with the largest arms in the Star Wars community and the largest sub count. Please welcome Stupendous Wave.
Glad to be back.
I want to ask everybody in the comments, if you were Stupendous Wave, what would you gloat about more? Or what would you be happier about? Having the largest arms or having the largest sub count? Let me know in the comments what you think. It'll be interesting to see what they say. So, yeah. Carrie Fisher passed. I'm still not really over it, to be honest with you. Even though I did not know her, it still kind of pops in my head at least once a day. Stupendous Wave, bro. And prior to her passing, I want to talk about where the story was going. A lot of people presumed that Luke may in fact at some point die in between episodes 8 or 9. And the reason why I think it was probably the safest death is because Luke is a Jedi. We presume that he learns how to become a Force ghost, and therefore, much like with Obi-Wan in the first Star Wars film, A New Hope, you could still have Mark Hamill reprise his role as a Force ghost. Before Carrie Fisher, I want to ask you, did you think that this was a possibility, or did you know it was going to happen, or not really? What do you think?
Yeah, it's always been a very high possibility that Luke will die in 8 or 9. I know it's far more likely that he will die in 9. In fact, I'd say it's pretty much a certainty that he will not die in 8. I know that Mark Hamill actually was tweeting about something after he shaved his beard or just before, and he talked about that he wasn't going to have to grow it back till 9. So we do know that he will be in 9. We just don't know, of course, he could be a Force ghost, because Force ghosts they get to keep their facial hair, as we saw by Obi-Wan. And
that's right.
Everything. So we don't really know in that regard. I would be utterly shocked if they killed him in Episode 8. I don't think they will. But in Episode 9, that's a huge possibility. A lot of people are talking about, should this be the end of the Skywalker lineage or the Skywalker story? Not so much the lineage, but the story. What should we do next? And I think that with Luke, his death would be appropriate, because that's where it began. And it kind of works out that this is where it could end as well. So in 9, that would be a better bet. And as you explained, he can always return as a Force ghost, which kind of is cheating. Let's be honest, it's cheating. But not something that makes me think that he very well could die, is that he can reprise his role as a Force ghost but still be killed.
Yeah, and if they ever come back and decide to do Episode 10, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's going to happen because of how much money these movies make. I think Disney will come back and do 10, 11, and 12. Maybe not right away, but I think it'll happen. They could always do what they did with Obi-Wan and with Yoda and with all these guys, is have Luke come back as a Force ghost in those movies if he dies in 9. Now, let's talk about Carrie Fisher. So she passed away. Before her passing, we don't know exactly what her role was in Episode 8. We have, clues here and there. But we do know that nowhere was it rumored or confirmed as of this recording that she was going to die in that movie. In fact, we believe she may actually survive until 9. Now, unfortunately, Carrie Fisher passed. Where does that leave Episode 9? And before I go into the whole Luke thing, I wanted just to ask you, do you think that with Episode 9, what do you think is the appropriate path to take? Should they kill her off in between 8 and 9 in the crawl? Should they show like her for a second and then kill her off like by getting blown up on a ship? Should they not kill her off and write her off a different way, just saying that she went and did something else? That one seems to be the least plausible because it's Princess Leia, General Leia. She's a main character. You can't just throw her away like that. It just wouldn't make sense. Lucasfilm and Disney did recently announce that, unlike Tarkin, they will not be CGIing her into Episode 9.
I would take and we talked about this off air, I would take the Paul Walker approach in Furious 7. Like, give Princess Leia a goodbye that works with the film. Like, have her be digital, but not to a huge extent. Don't have her have, like, a huge role. I don't think that Princess Leia will have a huge role. I do think that it will be a combination of writing her out and the digital thing, but I see her being digital for maybe like 1 or 2 scenes and then them getting rid of her. I don't think that I know this sounds bad, but I don't think she'll have any significance in the plot for 9 simply because of her death. I don't think that we're going to see anything like Tarkin level. We might see like Leia level again, where it'll be like 1 or 2 appearances at the most, and then it'll be an appropriate goodbye. I don't think that it will be as difficult to write her out as a lot of us think, because she had very limited time in The Force Awakens to begin with, and her role in Episode 8, it's been filmed. That's complete.
Yeah, it's done.
So I don't think it's going to be as big of a gap as we all presume it is, simply based off of her role in The Force Awakens not being crazy prominent.
And another thing, too, that a lot of people don't know, this is a new one I'm bringing up to you, is they could recut Episode 8 and take some of her scenes from Episode 8 and put them in 9. They could legitimately do that. We've seen people do this before, specifically with the Lord of the Rings Hobbit movies, where they were originally shot as 2 movies, and then when the studio wanted 3 movies, they took a little bit of the second one and moved it to the third one. And they could do that. They could actually take some Leia footage that's archived and put it into, Episode 9, and then focus the rest of 8 on something else. Lots of things they could do. But the big thing about this topic is, how do you think Carrie Fisher's death has changed the outcome of the characters? In other words, do you, Stupendous Wave, and everybody who's watching the video, leave your comments, let us know. Do you think that now, because Carrie Fisher, the real lady actress, died, that it's going to change Leia and Luke's fate? Do you think that now Luke and Leia will both survive? Like, how do you think this changed the way Disney looks at this series?
I'm starting to think that we will be saying goodbye to the Skywalkers. Maybe not the Skywalker lineage, but Luke and Leia, I do think that we will be saying goodbye to them at the end of this trilogy.
You mean death, or just, like, is that what you mean?
It will either be death or something else. If I had to bet, no way do I see them killing Princess Leia, if I'm being honest. I just think that's borderline disrespectful. Not, like, I understand they're in a weird spot, between a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
So they can't really do anything. There's no extremely graceful way to wiggle your way out of this. Like Paul Walker again in Furious 7. I think that was pulled off with the utmost of class. Yes. And to do it again, that's not an easy thing to do. But I honestly think that it's going to end up being something very similar to that, where we will say goodbye to Leia in a similar fashion. They're definitely going to focus on it, especially in 9. We'll have a Leia moment. As far as Luke, that's the big one, because of course Mark Hamill is still with us. It would definitely be appropriate for him to die. I mean, his mentors died, and the whole passing of the torch thing really isn't complete until the mentor has passed on. So I'm going to say that Leia is going to go off, and we're going to have some appropriate goodbye, and Luke will die, if I had to bet. Now,
you said the lineage of the Skywalkers. Right now, unless they reveal that Rey is Luke's kid or whatever, the only Skywalker left is Kylo Ren, is Ben. So, are you telling me that you think that this guy's going to have a turn, that he's going to go back to the good side by the end of the trilogy, and not die? Because who else is there to continue the lineage?
I wouldn't be surprised if he turned back to the light. we really don't know if Luke has any kids at this point. We really don't know that.
You're right.
Disregard Rey completely, but he could totally have other kids.
If that's the case, it's going to be a big twist in the upcoming movies. Because if he has a kid and it's not Rey, dude, that's a mind fuck.
Yes, it is. But I mean, we've seen it done before in Star Wars. Like, it's kind of notorious for stuff like that.
It's
Star Wars
retcons.
universe.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think that Luke survives now? Do you think that Carrie Fisher's death has had any kind of impact on the fate of Princess Leia? I remember, Stupendous, you were telling me that you think that that Carrie Fisher's passing may have actually changed it to where Leia might live. Like, I think we talked about how maybe Leia was supposed to die in Episode 8. Maybe Kylo was supposed to take her out or somebody else. And now that the actress died, maybe they're going to change that. I remember you brought that up to me. And that's kind of crazy that they're going to do the reverse. Like, the character lives even though the actress passes. That's kind of, it seems counterintuitive, but it's one of those things where you got to be very careful because this is a beloved character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and a beloved actress. I don't see them killing her.
Yeah, I agree with that. So but again, I could see both ways, dude. It depends on how they do it. It'll be a tragedy. I didn't want Carrie Fisher to die, and I definitely don't want Princess Leia to die. But I mean, who the hell knows? Anyways, thank you for being here, Stupendous Wave. Check out his channel, ladies and gentlemen. You probably already have if you're watching Star Wars content. And thank you for the kind words that we heard in our last collaboration. There was a lot of nice things said about us. And I really appreciate it. I do really like working with Stupendous Wave, and he'll be back a lot. So that's hopefully, unless you drop a weight on your face.
No,
no,
that would be tragic.
It would be. It won't happen. No bad vibes here. Anyways, we'll talk to y'all down the road.